Mom and Dad. I've been at a sleepaway camp for almost 3 weeks. And I'm getting very scared.
Welcome to Sleepaway Camp.
Welcome back to the Haddon Horrors Podcast, where we review horror movies and horror franchises. I'm Mark.
I'm Tawan.
I'm Elion.
And today we're reviewing Sleepaway Camp, released in 1983, written and directed by Robert Hiltzik. Tawan, can you give the people the plot summary?
After a horrible boating accident kills her family, shy Stella Angela moves in with her eccentric aunt Martha and protective cousin Ricky. One summer, Martha sends the kids to Camp Arawak. Soon after their arrival, bizarre, increasingly violent accidents claim the lives of various campers. Who is the twisted individual behind these murders?
I hate to say, just to start off with, and not to spoil what I think about the rest of the movies, but sadly, this is the good as it gets. Of this franchise, this movie is the best one of them all. And
how many sleepaway camps are there?
there are 4.
Are you fucking serious? Really?
Yeah, and this is the best one of the 4, which we will learn as we go through this retrospective, because we are kicking off a new retrospective franchise review with Sleepaway Camp. We haven't done a slasher series in a long time, so I wanted to get back to the cheesy 80s slasher films, and this is one of them. With the plot and the over-the-top acting, every scene with that aunt, I'm like, does this woman know what movie she's in? Does she know what set she's on? Because
It's camp!
if that's what they were going for, the whole movie should have been campy, because okay, we'll get into the scenes later, but from the acting, from the line reading, from the awkward shots, to a lot of inappropriate sexual stuff going on with kids and grown men.
Oh please! Oh my god!
Because was that one camper not about to fuck the camp owner?
Not on top.
Nah, that was crazy.
Even on top of that,
I'm like, okay. I'm like, yeah, she's a camp counselor, but isn't she a teen? Someone in her, she's in high
right?
school.
I think it was also nasty.
I was like,
I personally thought it was so nasty. Like the beginning scene where literally the cook is was about to rape her.
I can help you decide. You sure are a sweet-looking little cupcake, Angela. Yeah, I think I got something you're gonna like real good.
not even just that. The first thing he said when they first came in.
Oh my god, that was so.
They're too young to even understand what's on your mind.
Ben, good buddy, there ain't no such thing as being too young. You're just too old.
Yeah.
The whole movie was I don't know. This movie it has a controversial legacy for a reason. We'll get into that later. But this movie's all over the place. And again, this is, in my opinion, the best one out of the 4. So, but what about you, Tawan? What do you think about Sleepaway?
Yeah, so I had seen this movie before. I don't even remember when I seen it. I just remember seeing it, and I thought up until the ending, everything was fairly generic as far as slashers went. Now, I will say the kills and stuff were pretty good throughout the movie, and I do like the cheesy aspect of it. I feel like it gives something to it, and also not saying it felt real, but when it was just either the campers or the kids and stuff like that, the way that they were acting towards each other, it felt natural. How kids would be just by them group of kids for the summer, by themselves, just doing random stuff, being a little degenerate, all that type of stuff. So I felt that aspect of it felt fairly normal in a sense, but once we actually got to the end and we got the twist and everything, and I wasn't expecting that, which I feel nobody who watched this for the first time was expecting what happens at the end. So for that, it always is a good first watch. But after that point, it's kind of one of those you watch it for the first time, and um, you may not come back for a rewatch as often because I don't because it's kind of like the same with like a I always bring it up, but it's like kind of like the same like a Scream. You get the twist at the end, and you may not come back to watch it. But I feel like Scream is a little more charismatic of
I
a
was about to
series,
say.
in the way that the movies are. They're more rewatchable than this one is. Um, yeah, like as a franchise, like they're more like rewatchable than this one is. Like I'll rewatch Scream anytime, but I don't think I could say the same for Sleepaway Camp. But it is a very good first watch, and um, definitely, you know, comes out of left field with the way that it ends.
And not even that. Like again, I don't want to spoil what we gets next, but like you said, this whole franchise, it's a hard rewatch, but it's only for this one. Like the other three, well, the other two, I've seen two and three. I haven't seen the fourth one, but I know with two and three, the vibe is different, and it's more in line with what we get from like Freddy versus from like Freddy or
Hmm.
Jason, what they had going on in the 80s. Like two and three is closer to that. Um, I've never seen. Well, actually, there are five movies. I've seen two and three. I haven't seen four and five. There's five of these. There's not four.
Okay.
Whatever that's worth.
Wait. So you said there's five or four?
There's five. There's five.
Okay.
So this was the first time I've actually watched Sleepaway Camp, and I've never heard of it actually. So don't hate me on that part. Actually, discussing it now with you guys, how like it's a little cheesy and the lines are like, now it's campy. I can see a new light on it because when I first watched it, I was a little like, I don't know how I felt about it. The acting was a little off. I understood the kids, and I like the kids acting. Actually liked that they actually had kids playing the characters for once. Because now like now in today's generation, everybody's like adults and shit. So it was good to have for me, it's refreshing to see that. Um, but I was a little like disturbed, and I'm not used to seeing like the old horror. Like, yes, I'm used to. I remember watching Halloween, like Friday the 13th and all that. But it's just like this film specifically was just like there were some points of it where I was like, "Am I supposed to take this seriously? Is this really hard, or like is this supposed to be corny?" And that's just not my opinion because I was watching it at first. The What I will say, the special effects were actually really good. I
Yeah.
actually liked it. Um, that was like I really enjoyed it because like unlike CGI that we use now, it's more of like it's all like what's the word I'm looking for? It's all
Like practical.
special effect makeup. Yeah, practical. There we go. And that's what I really enjoyed about it. Um, the ending that I know that we're gonna talk about it. It was a big twist and it caught me off guard. But at the end, at the same time, it didn't. But I do want to keep my thoughts for that one for later. But as a person who watched it for the first time, it wasn't bad. But overall, it wasn't a bad film. I mean, I wouldn't watch it again, but I did enjoy it watching it as like the first time.
Well, let's go over to talk about the the ending of this movie because you kind of can't talk about this movie without talking about the ending. And this ending, which was controversial at the time, and I think it's still controversial. I know a lot of trans people hate the movie because of the ending. I kind of see where they're coming from, but it's not really my place. But I do see the ending make is the reason why this movie is infamous. Like the movie is bad, but you know it because of the ending.
Yeah.
Because I did not see because on first watch I didn't see that coming.
I didn't expect the ending or anything that we got. With the flashback telling us what was going on, in addition to what that final scene that we get in the movie. I wasn't like expecting that at all. It definitely like not. I don't know even know if I can say it elevates it because it's just a good reveal for who the killer is. in the same way, like other whodunits, when we get like a good reveal, it's just a good reveal in that sense because nobody was
It
expecting
lends
it to
itself
be.
to a good rewatch.
Yeah, and nobody was expecting it to be um, Angela the whole time because I'm pretty sure everybody who watched it probably thought it was Ricky, just due to how
But
protective.
see, I never thought it was Ricky on first watch. I never
Are
got
you
the
sure?
impression
Because
that it could have been Ricky.
there was a moment where I was
I don't see who
he
else
was
it could
like,
have been.
I think he was like, don't worry, Angela. I was like, huh. Where it's like, no one's gonna hurt you.
I never thought it was. I never thought it was Ricky though. I on first watch, I thought somehow the crazy aunt was there killing people.
Nah.
Mm.
For me, watching it, I thought the boy survived. So like, let me tell you, like when I was watching it, I was like, and I saw like whose body was still alive. I was like, isn't that the boy? And when the scene where like when Ricky and Angela were coming down, I thought Ricky was the one that survived. I didn't realize it was the other way around, or like that she was it. So when at the end, when I realized that Angela was the boy, but obviously Ricky's mom put him as put Angela as Angela. It I wasn't surprised a little bit, but it was like still like, oh god, I didn't know how bad it was. Like, because it obviously none of this was Angela's fault. It was not. I think like the aunt had a big role to play with it because this obviously had like I'm not. I don't want to hit a sensitive talk because I don't want to disrespect anybody at all. That's why I'm trying to choose my words carefully because I'm not trying to disrespect anything. I'm trying to say like,
But see, I don't think it is though because when it boils down to it, it's not something that Peter said that he felt a certain way or that he identified a certain way. It was one thing that Peter wanted to do. I think that's the difference. Like that crazy aunt literally was like, I already got a boy. I don't want another one. So I'm gonna make you into Angela. Like that's different. That's complete. That's has nothing to do with being trans. Like she warped that kid to be something that she wanted him to be. So I think that's different. There's like no disrespect. I don't know. What do you think, Twan?
So I could see how you know to someone how they could be like controversial, but if we're being honest, like Angela is not trans. Like at the end of the day,
She's not.
Angela's not trans. At the end of the day, like we gotta be like front with that. Like the child was forced into an identity that they weren't that they weren't not even say like they weren't in agreement with because we don't know what happened in between that. All we saw was the aunt saying, "I have a boy, you're a boy, so I don't want another one. You're Angela now."
Yeah, and the aunt saying this while Peter has on the bandage, which means Peter is like fresh out the hospital after his dad and brother and sister, his dad and his sister died. Like, so she took this traumatic little boy and was like, "I'm turning you into Angela."
Exactly.
And the way that Angela acts, she acts like shy and timid and like afraid of everything. So it's like it's the aunt made Angela. That's why I kind of feel that it's not the same. Angela's not trans.
No, I agree. That's kind of like my thing on it. Like, but I can see how someone who is trans could like take this the wrong way. But at the end of the day, we really got to be real that this shit was from the early '80s, and if we were to take a lot of
Hmm.
stuff seriously, still from the early '80s and '90s, we all be mad right now. If I'm being honest with you.
We would have been mad the entire Freddy and Jason review we did. Like all of that was completely offensive.
Like let's not act like the Kelly Rowland in Freddy versus Jason.
She really like she that was definitely offensive.
Oh man.
he got this big old knife, and you just little faggot. But I'm like, ma'am, Destiny's Child. What did you just say? But yeah, I think. But yeah, I don't think that was an offensive. Did the shock ending change the movie for you?
I'll say a little bit because, like, I like a good reveal. Like, I'm always a fan of a good whodunit or mystery thing like that. So a good reveal can make or break a otherwise mediocre mid movie. Um, and I thought this one I thought this one had that. It had that like good reveal at the end with the whole Angela thing, and what we ended up finding out from that. But because if it was just like if the movie went through and it just ended up being Ricky, for instance, I would have been like, okay, like it was just like straight up like slasher, but the whole little Angela twist gives it a little something different.
What I will say personally is just like I wasn't expecting to them to fully zoom out and show the whole thing. Like I would have. That's what like obviously that was the shock factor because I was like, oh shit, I didn't think they were gonna actually show it.
I feel like you needed to in order to actually get the audience attention. To just leaving it with like up in like having to be left to my imagination, it wouldn't hit the same. I think you had to actually see it. Good for
You think
good for
so?
them using an adult male. Let's move on to scenes. Were there any scenes that stood out for you guys? I would say for me, all the scenes with the aunt were a lot to get.
Any chips?
Why, of course. I believe there's a whole bag.
Why, I'm almost sure of it.
Angela, isn't there anything special my little girl would care for?
We gotta go, Mom. It's getting late.
Why, of course you do, dear. We wouldn't want them to leave without us, now would we?
No? No, I'm afraid that wouldn't do.
I don't know what was going on with her, but those things were not good. So cringy. What about you guys?
I think the one that really stood out was when they put the iron inside her coat.
That was
The girl
diabolical.
in our
Like the girl, that was diabolical because that is one hell of a way to die.
I just really enjoyed the special effects. I like every scene, like their death, the way that they died was just it was very well. I think it was very well shown. I think the only one, and I do remember that. I think the special effects artist himself said, I forgot his name. He was the one that was found under the boat. That it was not the best, but they did what they could with that one. The bee scene was good. That ending still shocks me. I'm sorry. I'm still thinking about that Irene one. But yeah, those were the only scenes. I just think I didn't like the scene where like for me I didn't see anything bad with it, but I've heard people saying that they noticed it a lot was just the one with the kid in the boat where he died, like his death, like his corpse. But I thought it was not that bad.
Yeah, I think some scenes and kills that stood out for me. First was the um, when the chef got killed, or well, technically we don't know if he died, but when he
No,
got
he lived, didn't he? Because they said he was alive.
no, I know that's why I said we don't know if he died because he got taken out.
Ah,
Um,
okay.
so, but when the water got like poured on him, like that was crazy. Because the just as Elion mentioned, the practical effects on his skin was like really good. Like it looked like his skin was like bubbling. That was kind of crazy. They did really good with that one. Um, Another scene that I liked was when the counselor came back to the group of boys and they were all dead, like the four of them. Because he might have had the best acting out the whole movie in that one scene. Because I felt like he actually came across some kids in real life, and the way he was acting. Because like especially he was doing his job too. Like he was trying to take the other little boy back because he didn't want to be, if I recall, he didn't want to be in the dark anymore, and he was scared. And only to come back and find the kids that he's supposed to be taking care of, like all dead, like that was crazy. But that was a really good scene as well. Another, not really a scene, but just any time when just seeing the 80s fashion on the guys and wondering why did we regress. we're gonna we're, we're gonna some of it
Homophobic
back.
one to talk about how people work and they out here wearing crop tops and them short ass shorts, but what a
Exactly.
problem.
I mean, at least the muscles were muscling. I was like, damn, okay, but
I was looking up like, when did we regress?
it was a very gay film. I don't know how to.
Yeah, it's just the like the clothing. I was like, damn, the 80s they were
They were
straight wearing
popping.
this. I'm like,
Literally,
this
they
is
were
crazy.
popping out. They were popping.
Like if you showed this movie to somebody now, they would ask if those are pride outfits.
Like no, that's
But
no, it's like no, that's what your dad and his homies was wearing to go pick up your
Exactly.
mom now. Like chill.
Exactly.
But for me, I would say that like all those scenes with like the camp and seeing the kids and seeing them play baseball and just like kind of just be kids, kind of like it slowed the movie down, but it also helped the movie because most horror movies, they're like anyone under a certain age, like you don't get killed, but like with these being like teenagers of all ages, of like from as young to old, like Angela gave no fucks if she wanted you dead, like, and also like most of her kills were justified because she only killed like the bad people or the mean people, like. The cook had to go. Like he was a creep, and that was a good practical effect. Seeing his burning flesh,
Yeah.
like he had to go. The curling iron up that woman, up that little girl's cooch was diabolical. But but honestly, she was asking for it because she just kept picking with Angela. Like Angela did nothing to that woman. Like she just kept picking with Angela. So it was just uncalled for. And then I don't know that reveal scene. Not even like not just like seeing Angela naked, like and realizing that she's a boy, but like seeing that conversation with the aunt and Peter and how she just like manipulated and like twisted that poor like traumatized kid. Like
It certainly will be a nice little surprise when Richard comes home to find a little girl in the house. Yes, I've always dreamed of a little girl just like you. I mean, we already have a boy, so another one simply would not do. Oh, no, absolutely not. A little girl would be so much nicer, don't you think so, Angela? Angela. Such a lovely name. Why, I believe it means angel. Why, yes, I'm sure it does. I know you're going to like that name. Won't you, Peter?
Yeah, that whole scene was yeah, that whole like flashback scene definitely got like a big ass like what the fuck when I saw that the first time. As far as scenes, I think that might be it. Like I feel like for the most part, I like pretty much all the kills in this movie. I don't think there was any that I disliked. Um, yeah, they were all pretty sufficient. Like especially for a film of its time, like in '83, like all the practical effects are good, as we said earlier. I really have no complaints when it comes to the actual kills.
I think the only thing that caught me off guard was like the little gay scene where the two men were in bed. I was not expecting that one.
Oh yeah, that was random.
that was
I was
so
like,
random. I didn't.
like, I
hey,
get it. I see. Like, yes, okay,
I mean, period. We love that, but
but
I,
it was just like for like 2 seconds. I was like, okay,
I
It
was
made
so
no
confused by it.
sense. It made no sense to the rest of the movie. I was like, okay, we're doing that. Cool.
Okay, there was a scene I didn't like, not because it was bad. It was just like, what was the point for it being so long? Was the baseball game? It was very long, in my opinion.
Yes, and that's what I'm talking about. Like some of those scenes with the kids just enjoying camp were great. And then you had stuff like the baseball game, and I'm just like, why are we here for all this amount of time?
Right.
Please move
Though,
along.
yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
Um, and we talked about a little bit, but like all the scenes with like the creepy old men, because that camp counselor is what, like 16, 17, definitely not 18. And she's like, oh, I have a date tonight. And and she's flirting with him, and he's just like going with it and had a whole like he was gonna get some from this child. Like he was going to kill Ricky because he thought Ricky killed the kid, the child that he was supposed to sleep with the night before. Like what? Insane. And then like the cook, the cook. When he tried to get Angela in the closet, like in the little pantry area, like all those scenes were uncomfortable, and I don't know why they needed to be there. Because like it was just too much, too much. But let's move on to the characters. Tuan, any thoughts on the campers, the overall big camp class?
Not really, if we're being honest. Like no, like nobody really stuck out besides I'm trying to remember her name. I believe it was Judy, because she was
It was
just
Judy,
huh.
a bitch. Yeah, it was that bitch
Yeah,
Judy.
yeah. She was just doing the most. Like, girl, that like Angela literally sitting on her bed, disassociated, and you're interrupting her. You don't interrupt nobody when they disassociate. Let them disassociate in their corner. Like, what the fuck? Like, leave her alone. Like, that girl ain't bothering you. And she's just getting like pissy the whole movie, like whenever Angela did anything, even though she was literally at the beginning talking to men that were definitely older than her, that she should not have been talking to in any type of way like that, because she grew into herself since the last time they were there. Like, what? And now you mad at this girl because she talking to one boy? Girl, fuck you.
The boy she didn't even like, she just didn't want Angela to have him.
Literally.
Like, I guess. But then, okay, but going back, 'cause now I'm remembering is apparently Peter was mentally damaged before the bowling accident because he saw his dad and another man and that homosexual like embrace in the bed or whatever. So that's what caused Peter slash Angela to become a killer because they had a psychotic break then.
What?
Huh?
Yeah, and if that's the reading we're supposed to get, so I'm kind of looking it up now. Then that's like completely disrespectful. Like that's crazy.
Hmm.
That's crazy. If that's why we're supposed to read that, like that. What? Okay, but Elian, what are your thoughts on camp counselors Susie and Ronnie? They're the ones who found Angela with Paul's body at the end. I feel like Ronnie had a good head on his shoulders. He was trying to keep the creepy people in check and was just like he wanted the kids to have a good time. But what are your thoughts, Elian?
I also felt the same thing. I felt like he was just a really kind person. Obviously he was ignorant with Bliss. Like it wasn't like he wasn't doing it person. Like I could tell, like he had a good heart. He just didn't realize it too at the same time. Like I mean, I know he was also trying to let the kids have a good time and like what was I gonna tell you? He's seen some things, but sometimes he let things slide too. He should have already reported this and just instead of like let the kids go on.
Yeah, like how many kids died before they said anything? Like what the fuck?
Exactly. But I was like, what? The girl, to be fair, I don't remember her. The female one.
Yeah, she only kind of popped up towards the end,
Okay,
right?
so
It was,
yeah.
yeah. But what about you, Tawan? What are your thoughts on Ronnie?
Yeah, I thought Ronnie was a good guy. Like he definitely, I don't like, well, shit, pretty much all the counselors. He was the only one that was one not really being a creep, and also in regards to the characters that we cared about, being Angela and like Ricky, he was like actively trying to um, get Angela involved and make her less shy for being at the camp. So he definitely seemed like he was a good counselor, and like compared to pretty much most of the other adults that we were seeing, was the only one that seemed competent, and he looked good.
He did, and little short shorts, magical.
Goodbye.
Well, well, let's move on to Martha. Now, Aunt Martha, I think I don't get her deal. Like, why did you turn Peter into Angela? I feel like we need a more explanation with Aunt Martha, but I don't know if the actress need to be on set more. What about you, Tuan?
Yeah, she definitely has some choices with her line readings. It kind of felt like they went with her first like readings and didn't give her any other direction afterwards. They were like, "That's good. We'll just go with that." But as like the character as a whole, like she's crazy. Because what do you mean you already have a son? So you're going to have your, because yeah, this is on Martha. So you're gonna have your brother's child, who was a boy, be a girl for you, and give him a whole identity crisis because you already have a son. Why even take in? Why even take him in? Like that's my whole thing. Is like, why'd you even take? Why'd you even take the nephew in the first place if that was going to be the case? Like, what are we doing here? Like that, I don't know. Like that, like just even thinking about it for a little bit is like, bruh, what are we doing here? But even though we didn't get like much of her outside of those couple scenes, like near the beginning and then the end for the flashback, like I mean, she definitely left the impact because just due to how like weird the characterization was, the acting choices, and then also just the decision to where we got with Angela as a character.
Eliana, what are your thoughts on Paul and Judy?
Judy, she had it coming, that bitch. She deserved it. Um, the other kid, I'm so happy. I don't know why, but I'm so happy that Angela didn't she like Angela decapitate him?
Yes, this motherfucker is dying. This motherfucker is dying.
It's not funny. I don't know why I'm laughing at this. Um, so for me, I just felt like, uh, I know I feel like there's a symbolism with his head decapitated. Maybe you guys can help me with that part, especially like he was really trying, like he was very touchy feely, like obviously, I don't know what's going on in in his mind. I mean, like I mean, he's like what, a teenager? That's what they're depicted as, teenagers, right? Uh, and hormones happen during camp. I don't know what was going on with him, but he was getting too sexual with poor Angela. Angela already going through a lot, knowing that she's a boy. Well, she was a boy until like Miss Auntie forced him to be a girl. Um, but I didn't really have no thoughts because honestly, I just felt like he was one of those characters that he was just more of a side character. Like he just played the role of like someone that you don't like. Like he was just annoying. Um, I'm okay. Maybe the laughs are gone with Judy, but like Judy, she was literally playing the mean girl. She was a bitch. I mean, she played her role right. I've still I she had what she had coming. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, let's move on to cousin Ricky. Now, I guess we're supposed to think that Ricky was actually the killer the entire time, but I low key never got that from Ricky. I feel like we didn't see Ricky enough, and I just didn't think it was gonna be him. I want to tell you guys who I thought the killer was, and you guys are gonna think I'm completely crazy.
Okay, go for it.
But I thought the killer was Angela's brother. I thought they were gonna pull some like Jason and his mom type shit where the brother was like at the lake or something, hiding and just stalking around and watching his sister from whatever, and he was gonna be the killer in the end. And then rewatching this, I was kind of high, and I was like, "There ain't no way they're about to pull a malignant on me in this old ass movie." If anyone's seen Malignant, I don't want to spoil it, but if anyone's seen it, I know what I'm talking about. I thought, are they about to pull a Malignant? Like, what's happening right now? Because I kind of forgot what was I expecting because I was high, and then I just think it was Ricky. It seemed too obvious for it to be Ricky. Um, and then once like the camp like owner or whatever like zoomed in on Ricky being a bad guy, then I was okay. It's most definitely not Ricky. Like they didn't give me enough to make me believe it was Ricky. But what about you, Tuan? What are your thoughts on Ricky?
I mean, I thought he was a good character. Like he just seemed like he wanted to stand up for his cousin, regardless of what was happening. And I, only reason I thought it was Ricky just because the way that some of the stuff played out is, something will happen to Angela, and then immediately, um, whoever the killer was would take action. So, it was very easy to believe that it was Ricky. Now, I kind of get what you mean going out the way saying it could have been like the brother from the beginning, quote unquote. Um, if they went that direction. But besides that, I don't see who else like I would have thought it to be. Um, especially like anyone else who knew about the situations that Angela was kind of put in during like her time at the camp. So it was easy to definitely believe it to be Ricky. Um, like it was easy to believe that it could be Ricky, but I'm glad it wasn't in the end of it because that would have been boring, and we got what we got. So that was pretty fun with me. But as a character, I like Ricky as a character. But also one thing that I was wondering when like during the rewatch was Angela only had to deal with Aunt Martha for the time that Angela was with Aunt Martha, but how the fuck is Ricky so normal with his crazy ass mama?
I think well, it was said that Ricky spends a lot of time with his dad also.
True.
So I guess like he gets to break away and go with his dad and be normal, but Angela is just there when on Martha. But also, like, what's with Ricky's dad? Because you ain't know this bitch was crazy. When you got her, ain't no way you missed this. Had a whole kid with this one. But also, I kind of forgot that Aunt Martha made the decision to make Peter Angela before Ricky got home.
That's true.
So Ricky also never knew that his cousin Peter survived, not his cousin Angela.
hmm
What about you, Elian? What are your thoughts on Ricky?
I actually really agreed with Juan because they really played Ricky to be the bad guy. They literally betrayed him throughout the whole thing, and they basically accused him, especially the what was he the like was he the like the owner of the camp? Because remember where he was literally just attacking him. I don't remember his name. Um, but I just felt because they were putting so much blame on him, it made it too obvious to me that I'm like, okay, if they're putting so much blame on him, they're blaming him. I just feel like he's not the killer at all. Because that's what they do a lot in movies where like they make you think they're the killer and they're not even the killer at all. Um, but I just felt like Ricky was honestly just like very defensive of his cousin because he knows what she's been through, and this is a very sore subject for Angela as well because she's going back to the camp where her family was killed. So I guess I just feel like he was just defensive, but I wouldn't think that he would have killed, especially after all the scenes pointing at him, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get you. And yeah, like I said, like once the camp owner started like, it has to be Ricky. He's getting back at me. I'm like, why do you think this child has a grudge with you? And why do you have a grudge with this child that you think is like at a deadly scale? Like what? But let's move on to Angela slash Peter. Elian, what are your thoughts?
I will say I was not expecting like they played the innocent person so well that I was not expecting it at all for that to be the ending. Um, but we've talked about that so much already throughout this whole podcast. But I just wanted to say, like, they did a good job concealing who they really were. Like, they played the role as, like, the person that doesn't talk at all, the person that's very shy, very to herself, and the way that they portray, like the scenes portrayed her is like she was always there with people when in reality she was the one that was doing all these killings. So I think they did a really good job concealing the identity of who the killer was, especially oh excuse me, already trying to blame Ricky throughout the whole film, but I like I really thought it was going to be like one of the counselors, to be fair, but Angela was the last person I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I agree. Like, just as I mentioned earlier, I definitely wasn't expecting the whole Angela twist, but I definitely liked it because I'm a sucker for a good reveal in these type of movies, like slashers or any type of mystery, who done it, that type of deal. So anything like that where I get a good reveal towards the end, and like I feel like it didn't waste my time, it was good, and just in general, it's definitely. I feel as though like Angela, like as a character and like the way that all that played out, it's definitely interesting that not saying nobody figured anything out because like how would they, but how tightly kept under wraps it was for for Angela as like the character, but we know that the aunt was very manipulative because even at the beginning when they were like about to be on their way to camp, it sounded like they needed like physicals so that they could give to like the camp, and the aunt was like, "Oh, here's your physical," talking to Ricky, and then she was like, "Angela, this is yours. I did this one myself." And so basically, like not taking Angela to the doctor because that would give up the whole ruse and everything. So like the aunt is very manipulative. So it's not like too hard to believe why it would still be continuing even so far down the line, and if like even if like it even would have what's the wrong even if it's not hard to believe that it was going on for so long and not in down the line, especially with considering still how young we were. They were about like 13, I think, at the time in the movie. So it's not that hard to believe that you can still convince them like that this child who's a boy is a girl, especially after you were doing so for all these years and basically giving them a whole identity crisis, like underlying identity crisis. But I wonder if like Angela would have ever like broken out of that or just given into that even more over time. But I
Small
think
spoiler for the upcoming movies. Angela does not break into it, break out of it. She locks in.
interesting. Hmm. Okay.
What? Yeah.
Yeah, outside of all of that, I thought like the actual like characterization was done pretty good by the actors that portray Angela in the movie. I like she really was good at giving that whole feeling of like not like a loner, but just someone who's like really shy, like they're not really interested in being like in like a crowd, more introverted type of person. And I felt like that characterization was done very well. Just like the look in Angela's eyes where she was just like in the room with Judy and the other girl, and that she was just sitting on the bed, like kind of dissociating, like not really paying attention to anything, like just staring into like the abyss. So I thought that was all. I thought it was all pretty well done for the most part, and that like you know, child actors they can kind of be hit or miss, but I thought the portrayal on this one was good.
Yeah, my opinion's kind of like skewed because I've seen two and three, and I know that the like innocent, kind of quiet, kind of like I'm not gonna hurt anyone until I'm provoked, Angela, that we get in this movie is not who we have in the next two. So, like, like when I just said like Angela like locks into her identity and who her aunt made her be, like Angela locks in, and it's crazy kind of seeing how it was portrayed in this movie and then the portrayals we get in the next two movies. But I agree with you guys. Like the acting was good. It could have been the actress could have overplayed it and it could have gave the secret away at the end. But I felt like it was perfect. It was a good performance, and it's just the rest of the movie is kind of bad. And even though Angela is like the star, you don't really notice Angela. You just think that she's shy and awkward, and people who keep messing with her die. But it doesn't make you like I don't know. It's just something's not completely there. Good performance, but something's missing. But you know what's not missing? Tuan, because he has to give us the behind the scenes and fun facts.
So the budget for Sleepaway Camp was $350,000, and it brought in the box office of 11 million. Some interesting facts about Sleepaway Camp: the disclosure of the murderer's identity is one of the most shocking climaxes in history of American cinema. Sleepaway Camp has garnered contemporary criticisms for its representation of a transgender villain. Willow Maclay, a transgender writer for Clio magazine, criticized the film for its equation of mental instability with having grown up in a gender role not concurrent with your identity. Nearly every single transgender person grows up being raised in a gender role that doesn't fit, and that doesn't mean that they are mentally ill or seriously violent. Sleepaway Camp was shot in 5 weeks on a budget of only $350,000. It is implied that Peter was mentally affected by seeing his father sharing a homosexual embrace with another man. When Sleepaway Camp opened, it was the top grossing film in New York, beating out the premiere of Barbra Streisand's Yentl. It also killed its horror competition by raking in almost double the gross of Amityville 3D. Some critics' reactions: the film currently sits at a 81% on Rotten Tomatoes. The Los Angeles Times felt that the film was derivative and gruesome, but conceded that its pacing was adept and that the director portrayed the often cruel and abusive behavior of teenagers towards another young person. The news press gave it a favorable review, calling it a shockingly good slasher film if you use the relatively fine first Friday the 13th as a measuring stick. It's just another crazed killer stalking newable summer campers, but this time there were some truly creative killings and an interesting plot twist. The website Bloody Disgusting gave the film a positive review, praising Felissa Rose's performance and the film's twist ending, calling it one of the most shocking scenes since possibly Hitchcock's Psycho.
Whoa! Enough about them. What about us? Do we cash or pass? Sleepaway Camp. Elion?
I cast, honestly. Because, like I said, that was something for me to get used to and something to learn. Because, like I said, I'm still getting adjusted, you know, with the old kind of horror. But I'd cash it. I mean, it was a good film overall. It wasn't too bad. I'd give it like a 7 out, like maybe like a 6 or 7 out of 10. But like I'd watch it again if I was paid.
Well, for me, it's also a cash. It's one of those classic horror movies that I think if you're a horror fan, you should give a watch. It's like you watch that first Friday the 13th, you watch that first Jason, the first Freddy and Michael, you watch Sleepaway Camp. It's I don't know. I've seen this movie here and there over the years. It's definitely hasn't been a one and done for me, but it's an interesting movie. It's a cash. What about you, Tuan?
Yeah, I would also give this movie a cash. I think it's definitely a good like watch, like for a first time watch. Like if a person hasn't seen it before, um, I would, and they're a fan of horror slashers, I definitely recommend watching it because you just for the ending alone, like it get I don't know, it like adds a lot to the movie. Like that's why I say like a good reveal can really change like a movie. Like when you're like a movie like this, because while the rest of the movie was probably pretty mediocre, once you got the reveal, you're like, oh shit, what the fuck? And it makes you kind of, give a little recontextualize to some of the stuff that we've seen earlier. So that's why I feel a good reveal can definitely like help out, like a movie that's possibly like mediocre. But even with some of the stuff that was in it, the practical effects here are really good. Um, the acting from Angela or Felissa Rose, who was like our main character who we followed most of the time, was really good as well. You get a bit of like the '80s camp vibes and everything, but it wasn't like too much that took away from it. Even the scenes with the aunt, but she wasn't in it as much. So I'll still give it a cash. I think it's a good watch, especially for a first time.
But that's the end of our Sleepaway Camp review as we kick off our brand new Connolly franchise retrospective. We are doing the remaining four movies in this franchise. We were going to do Sleepaway Camp 2 next week, where we have a grown up Angela back at camp, back killing. It's different. But do we gonna think it's gonna be better or worse? To find that out, tune in next week. But until then, good night.
If you like this episode, please be sure to check out some from the Haddonfield Horror Cemetery, where we've covered big franchises such as Friday the 13th, Halloween, and Saw, or one-off reviews like The Blackening or Hereditary. You can follow Haddonfield Horrors on Instagram and TikTok, where the hosts post updates and mini reviews. Full episodes are available on several podcasting platforms, including Spotify, as well as YouTube. If you're listening to us on YouTube, please be sure to like and subscribe. The Haddonfield Horrors podcast is produced by Mark Smart, Tawan Griffin, and Elian Cordova, themed by Lethal Injection, and edited by Mark Smart.
The Haddonfield Horror Podcast is a letter to media production.
Should we do an intro?